Welcome to another episode of the La U Times podcast. We got some friends in the house again. Lou, all the way from Austin. What's up, bro?
What's up, fellas? Disappointing weekend, but we're here, man.
Absolutely. I'm sure, I could already tell the vibe's different than last week. It's more like the 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I can't even recall anymore. Alfred in Nashville, what's up, brother?
Smile's not gone, bro. En las buenas y en las malas, we're still here.
Always, always. And North Texas boys. Dennis, how we doing, bro?
The Stars make me happy. Some other teams may not make me happy, but the Stars make me happy. So doing pretty good.
Absolutely. And then Edgar, Double O Nation. What's up, bro? How we doing tonight?
Had better days, but like Alfred said, all smiles in the good and the bad times.
Yeah, for sure. I want to get all y'all's reflections, obviously, and your reactions to what happened in terms of the game. I've had some really interesting things occur to me throughout the week. At my first job, I was approached by a teacher because I wear a lanyard, the Tigres on it, and she said, "Sorry, your team lost." That was trying to enroll her student into summer school. It was pretty interesting. At the gym, I saw a lot of Rayados fans that normally wear my cap of Tigres come at me. So I've had some time to reflect on all of
Did
it.
you
And,
did you did you have to see some jail time for that last part, Arnoldo?
no jail time. I had to take it up or take it in. That's some would say. But yeah, I want to get obviously all y'all's thoughts on the Clásico Regio. Unfortunately, we're not going to be advancing to the next round, which is the semifinals of Liga MX. 3-2 to Rayados after a 1-1 second leg tie to advance. We needed to win by 2, and we were probably on pace, but different story, different result. So, Alfred, start off with you, bro. Reactions and reflections about this Clásico Regio.
Obviously, we're not happy, but at the same time, you just got to reflect back on the whole season and kind of analyze, how far we got, based on the circumstances. I think we did all right. The team held in there. I'm pretty sure you guys saw it, but a lot of Rayados were thinking that they were gonna, somehow get some huge victory against us, or even that in their house that that we weren't gonna be able to at least pull off what we did, which was a tie. And I think that yeah, there was definitely some questionable decisions by Siboldi again, some unfortunate performances in specific instances of the game, but overall, I'm happy with the team. Like I said, I'm on board in good times or bad times, and I'm optimistic for what's coming. But in the end, we just gotta swallow it and get back to it.
100%. 100%. Dennis, thoughts, impressions about Clásico Regio as we didn't advance?
I think my biggest takeaway is the lack of effort, the lack of ganas, as one would say, that was shown throughout both legs. Not throughout the entirety of both games, but specifically in the second halves. That was just really disappointing. Not even in the Liguilla sense, but in even just like the Clásico sense. Like look at what happened like a month or so ago when we played them in the regular season. That 3-3 game, everybody was fired up in it, and complete opposite now. And I don't know what happened between now and then. As we talked about in the group chat, did we overtrain during the week? Is that why we look tired? Did Siboldi, take the guys off because it kind of looked like they weren't responding well to him? I don't know. Like, I feel like a lot of what happened those 2 games is a reflection on him because tactically just not good. And also just kind of vibes wise, like on the field, just really odd. But also at the same time, I mentioned this to you guys the other day. This team's played a lot of football since the start of last year. You got to think about when we hired Coca. We had that preseason with him. Have we had more than 2 weeks of break since then? No, we really haven't. So I think the games that started to catch up to us this whole half season, and it really caught up to us now. And unfortunately, it just happened at the wrong time against a team that we do not like to lose against ever. But it is what it is, and yeah, you just got to take it on the chin and just move on. And hopefully, this month of break, 2-3 ish weeks of break, will help the boys out between now and the start of the Apertura season, or maybe even a Campeón de Campeones if we somehow get in there, because there's a chance that could happen, but I doubt it.
Heard the word management, lack of intensity. Lou, what are your thoughts on the elimination, and then more so touching up on what they both mentioned, the Siboldi aspect and his role in this elimination?
I think if we were in a room full of doctors, they'd probably say that we died of a preventable disease. I mean, it's pathetic the way we lost, man. I mean, you really can't point to Rayados doing anything special during this entire series to where you would feel like, man, they overwhelmed us, they burdened us, they outclassed us. After that first game, I was looking at the stats like around the 50th minute, and they were at 0.54 xG, 2 goals with 2 shots on goal. I mean, it just tells you how pathetic our back line was, and how pathetic certain players were. It's just, I mean, in addition to everything that's been said, Alfred and Dennis, it was just sad to watch, really. I mean, a lot of it could have been fixed. A lot of it could have been better, and I think we would have been in a fight. I think I agree with Dennis in a certain sense. We did run out of juice. We ran out of steam, and I think that caused us to have really terrible second halves. Like, we had a good on the away game at their place. I thought we had a decent first half, and I thought we were putting together a decent first half at home as well, except for the mistakes. And so a lot of it, I think, was we were tired. We lacked intensity. And I think it's something that we pointed out all season long. We take plays off. Certain players take plays off. And in big games like that, you just can't do it. And it came back to kill us. So, I mean, it's just, I think hopefully we learn from this. Hopefully we get a chance to rebuild a little bit, fix some of the issues we have with the back line, and I think we'll look much better. I mean, if you want to look at it in the positive sense, I think there's a lot of positives in the sense that really we didn't get overwhelmed by a pretty good Rayados team. And so in that sense, you just tweak a few things, you fix a few things, and then you're back to beating Rayados like we have been in the last 8 years.
100. Edgar, what are your thoughts? And then want to touch up on something that, going back a year ago to this same time, we were in the Liguilla against Rayados. I know the injuries, I know the tiring came into effect, but I feel like, like Lou said, the taking off plays. How much do you think the mental aspect played into this as we got eliminated, Edgar?
I think a lot, and honestly, I think regardless of, maybe the fatigue and maybe the exhaustion was catching up to us, it's a clásico. Like, yes, it's a playoff game, very important, but it's a clásico. Like, more than anything, that shouldn't be an excuse. Those are games that, at the end of the day, passion and dedication, the colors of the jersey, they matter so much more because of who you're playing against. And I think we mentioned it at some point. The title against Chivas was like a very passionate, emotion-driven Liguilla. This should have been the same thing. You're playing against the hometown rival. We saw in the regular season, we had injuries as well. I mean, the whole Nahuel thing happened, I guess, after, but we knew we were going into that game without him. So I think it was preventable, and I think that, we were sloppy and lazy, and there was no heart on the field from a handful of these players.
And that's the sad part, because culturally, like, we have that already, going back to a year ago, 6 months ago, over the last 5 or so years, a lot of these players have been around. And I think that that's where we just, like all you guys have mentioned, like, the players took plays off, They weren't, the intensity wasn't there. The hunger for, some of the bench and role players that we had, like this was their time to step up and allow themselves to contribute to, in a larger sense, what they hadn't in the past by just riding the bench or, being, a 5 minutes type of player game every couple of games just because you're just not getting it. And I'm calling like Tercero, Diego Reyes. I know he helped out a year ago. The youngsters, like I felt like we didn't have that it factor to like really make a push into the next rounds. And so my question now is, what do we expect the directiva, obviously, in reaction to this? How much is it going to be a reaction, and how much plan as we continue to move forward with the team? Lou?
I think the directiva saw this, the front office saw this coming, probably end of last season, and decided to just patch it up. Probably to save a few bucks, probably to get a few pieces on the attack. And I think they probably knew that there was a little bit of patchwork going on, and that it might not stick, it might not work, and we might have holes. And it turned out to be that way. A lot of times you make these decisions, these choices, and hope for the best, right? I mean, Diego Reyes, 2 seasons ago, gave us a great Liguilla, so maybe they were counting on some of these guys stepping up come Liguilla time. But instead, we got a clear slump from everybody. It seems like everybody got together, at least all the center backs got together and decided to have a bad playoff run. And so they saw it coming. I think they know. They're not fools. They know that needs to be revamped. And I think that's definitely a priority for the front office is get at least two elite center backs and one elite fullback to kind of fix a lot of the work. We've talked about it here in the pod about getting back to 2011 defense levels, and it's no coincidence, man, that the best 4 defensive teams are in semifinals. And the old saying that defense wins championships. I mean, it's not just a saying. There's truth to that. I mean, like look at the Femenil last year. America scored 63 goals, and they were like destroying the league. And then they went and faced the best defense in the league, and Tigres wrecked them. Tigres Femenil has only allowed on average 10 goals a season. And what do? They win every year because they have such a tough defense. And I think the varonil, the male team, the men's team needs to mimic that. Have a Muralla back there, have 2 really good center backs, and build everything around that. Because when your forwards are not playing up to par, when your attack's not great, at least you have your back line to defend you at all times. So
games.
Yeah, and that's what ultimately is going to get us back to winning is having a solid defense.
Yep. We talk about the defense, Dennis. Was there any players in that Clásico Regio that, with the performance possibly stay? Obviously we were all unhappy with the defense. I saw a tweet, 23 goals, 21 goals. How many goals did we get? 23 or 21? I can't remember if it was 21 and
23.
23. And so Querétaro was like right near us in terms of goals allowed. So defense, Dennis, anybody that stays in reaction to the Clásico Regio who played and got the minutes?
I think Guido obviously stays. That's the very, duh choice. He's the captain. He's our best center back, and he's not even a center back, which tells you a lot in itself, right? I thought Angulo actually played a pretty decent 2 games. They were trying to play a lot. Rayados were trying to play a lot through Meza. And I thought for most of the second leg, like we did a good job of containing him and making him ineffective. I mean, I think he's a worthless player anyway, but he was really worthless on Sunday. And part of that's because of Angulo. So props to him. I mean, Aquino was the best player on the field for us on Sunday, like by a mile, in my opinion. So obviously he stays, and Chewy by default, I think, stays. Everybody else, I think you could put on the chopping block. I would like to see us go aggressive in the center back. I mean, I think you need 3. I don't think 2 is enough because you need to have the versatility. You need to have the depth. We got to be 2 deep if possible in the back at every spot. And so I would like to see us bring in 2 veterans and maybe 1 younger one, but they all need to have like some, qualities like on the ball. And because I feel like a lot of our center backs, like they're just good at defending, but like they don't help in the build up. You know what I mean? Like that's something that I really noticed throughout this half season, is that it's not something Samir's really good at. And like Purata is kind of good at that, like with his long balls, but then sometimes wasn't, like we kind of need somebody to help out in the build up and how we, shape things, especially with this weird tactic that we have going on of them even like going all the way up the field when they don't have to. So if that's the play, then we need, stronger players who are like actually good on the ball, in order to make that happen. And Samir, Reyes, Tercero, Purata, they are not the answer to that. I'm sorry. So you need at least 3 center backs, and then fullbacks, whatever, but at least 3 center backs, in my opinion.
Besides not playing out of the back, I just feel like we just need to upgrade the positions no matter what. I don't think we
absolutely
have competing talent in terms with the other teams as far as talent level. Alfred, Siboldi getting that extension, does this change anything? What is your opinion besides center backs as far as positions that need to be addressed as we are going to go into the transfer talk?
So continuing on with Dennis's points, I think more than just the acquisitions we need to make in the back line, I think we also need to ask questions regarding what is Siboldi's team doing training wise, with the defense, because we did see a lot of of our whoever was in the spot at whatever game, a lot of them trying to play from the back, leaving their position, and then whoever was left behind, there was just no coordination. Most of the goals that we received this season was because of that, because somebody left their position and then the others weren't able to make their progressions. They weren't able to make their coverages, or just simply they were all over the place. And I think that has to do with how they're worked in the training ground. I think Tuca might have said something, hinted at that in his reactions to the Clásico, saying that he built a defensive team, and he built a defense that was impenetrable. And I think that regardless of who we bring in or regardless of who we let go, I mean, it doesn't matter, if we bring some really strong center backs, if they're not getting the proper training, they're not working correctly so that they are able to be just like that 2011, that through 2018 or whatever, backline that was really strong. It was mainly because they were just a team. No matter who was in there, you knew that they were going to get the job done because they knew exactly what they needed to do. And I think that's something that, I mean, Siboldi is going to stay. Siboldi, I think he's safe in the spot. We all talked about it. It's he's the right man for the job, but he does need to have the right pieces within his team to make sure that they work on the defense.
So you think we need do we think add any more coaching staff? Because I feel like one of the things that we don't really know is he does have a lot of personnel, and a lot of them is through the club, but we don't know what these people are doing. In the past, you would be able to find the guy in charge of fitness, all the assistant coaches, the goalkeeping coach. I know is Enrique Palos the goalkeeping coach. There's a hefty, bigger, older man who's around too in the warm-ups, and he sits with the players. There's also, we have 2 assistants. And then there's the other preparador físico, the guy from Portugal that they brought over. And then there's one more guy. So what is their role in this, right? And as being part of the coaching staff? Because I feel like one of the things that when I look back a year ago is, through that emotion, through that like coaching carousel that we went through, they made a push and won that off of pure championship experience and offensive minded, nothing to lose type mentality. And this time around, or in the last year, we've seen the coaching staff being at times more influential in the tactical and approaches to both the defense, the offense, and even the set pieces. So, do we require more coaching staff, or does Siboldi need to take more of a responsibility in commanding, or working on the defense, especially being a goalkeeper? So, is it tactical or is it, talent? Is it both? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we need to ask those questions. Just like right now, we're putting on the like Dennis said on the chopping block, we're putting players in there. I think we should also be putting names or whoever are these assistants that are working with our defense, because in the end, it's an overall failure. I mean, everybody has their own piece of it.
Absolutely. Um, Lou, I'm sorry, Edgar. We talk about center backs. We talk about Siwali sticking around. In your opinion, what's another position that you think it's an urgent matter to rebuild or add?
So I would say we need another goalkeeper. I know we just renewed Carlos Felipe, but I think another question that we need to be asking ourselves is he the quality of second string goalkeeper that this team needs? We talked about the amount of goals that were received. We've been talking about how a handful of them were preventable or they were just careless mistakes, but they were game after game after game. Um, when it comes to his renewal, I think he earned it, but now I think he needs competition aside from Nahuel uh, underneath the net.
Well, Miguel Ortega is there.
Is he?
He should be.
So, yeah, I honestly think it's time to offload Ortega. The few times we did see him play, it wasn't great. We have two other young goalkeepers that are not being utilized. I know on the national team level, they were pretty good at some point. Now I think they've aged out of those levels, so they're not getting any activity there either. And it's time to either decide to give one of them the confidence or the opportunity, or let them go on their way as well, and find somebody who can actually give us security back there when Noah is not available.
7 games, right? Still to go. And without our starting goalkeeper, where we're going to have a lot of competition again in about a month and a half, 2 months, with the League Cup starting. Got a comment, Jesse Tigres. There was a huge difference in pace, specifically talking about the Clásico Regio. So pace, yeah, intensity. Um, Lou, what other positions do you think we've had? Center backs, we've had a goalie. What other positions do you think could be valuable to add to this team as we continue to restructure and rebuild the team?
In regards to the goalie, I read a tweet earlier that said that we won a championship and had the best numbers defensively with Palos as the goalkeeper. So to me, it's like go get 3 junkyard dogs for your back line and don't worry about the goalkeeper. I just think a lot of our issues will get fixed if we get some elite center backs and an elite fullback, and I think a lot of our troubles are going to go away. The one position I feel like we do need to start looking at is somebody to compete with Gorriaran, and if not, outright take his spot, because I like Carioca when we have possession. I like Carioca distributing. I like Carioca our point guard, but I don't like Carioca having to do all the work. I don't I don't I don't see us being successful. Carioca's having to do both things, where he's having to chase the ball, recover, get it back, distribute, get our offense going. That's not what we want. So we need a guy who's willing to make the sacrifices, who's going to be nasty. So we need a nasty central defending midfielder that's going to do a lot of the dirty work, facilitate some work for Carioca, so then we can get our offense going. Bruneta doesn't have to drop deep. We can just feed him all day long. And so I think that's a position we definitely need to look at. To me, I just don't see Orreran being the guy. I mean, he came in, playing really well at Santos, but he just hasn't been the guy that we need, along with Carioca. So to me, bring in somebody to help Carioca out and take over that spot. I think that would be the fourth on the priority list for me.
I know another Brazilian midfielder.
Hey, bring him, Dennis.
He plays for a certain team in Manchester, and he's kind of lost his legs this season. But he's also won a
Casemiro?
Champions League. Yeah. I don't want him. I'm just totally kidding.
Yeah, for sure.
That dude's legs are gone.
What about a winger?
I feel like that's I just feel like that's so far down our priorities.
Yeah, I was
We
about to
have
say,
we have Flores, who's looked great at times this season. We got Lainez, who's looked great at times this season. Ociel's looked great. I just feel like we're covered. I mean, and if one of those would go down, you got Cordova who can play right winger as well in a pinch. So, to me, it's too far down the list to really be worrying about it this season. I think you fix the back line, get you a killer CDM, and then maybe next season look at kind of upgrading that position if needed.
How many players do we think are going to exit? Because I think, in my opinion, I think 4 players have to arrive to the team and plug in at the positions of need. And, I know that we definitely may have different priorities as far as our personal opinions on it, but I definitely think that as part of the restructure and rebuild of the generational change, you have to, provide either some of these guys who are on the older side, the not necessarily the pressure, but the competition to stay more informed, to not rely on them to be the best players and rely more on a team oriented aspect to, confront all, these tournaments and all these games that they're playing in. Because I think that, we still rely on the older generation to be the best players, and that cannot happen, especially because going back a year ago, it's even more like, I'm sure of it, that championship was pure emotion after everything that we went through, and less, actual team dominance, because America was great and got eliminated by Chivas. America was there again last season. So I think that, we have to address these positions, and it's not going to cut it with like 1 or 2. I think that you have to bring 4 to keep plugging into the whole depth chart that we have been constructing. I think that a left back is definitely something that is absolutely, added to that urgency list. I think that if you can get a center back who can play and, outside and compete with Angulo, um, because I think that Angulo has gotten to a place where, he knows he's a starter, and, the competition, it was like with Torres Nilo, after a while, like, he didn't have anybody to compete with him, and that position became null. And in terms of, progressing forward, and we built everything through the right side. So I think, again, four positions, and, to continue the rebuild.
Well, there's already 2 on the list, right, that are pretty much kind of rumored to be out by pretty reliable sources. Edgar Martinez and I think Jorge Rosales both tweeted out earlier that Luis Quiñones and Samir are pretty much out. The front office is looking to shop them around. So that would leave at least 2 more guys that we can, 2 potentially 3 more guys that we can offload to. I mean, I would think Purata has to be one. Tercero, Reyes probably, and then from there you can look at other players as well.
I think that Diego Reyes gets a pass just because he's Mexican, and it's probably easier to unload salary wise Purata to an MLS team again, or another Mexican team. Samir will have market in Brazil or even the Mexican league. Quinones will still have some market in the Mexican league. So you're talking about, 2 foreign spots, and, a Mexican spot that you could potentially give with Purata. So I think Diego Reyes gets the pass there. So I don't know if he leaves.
Send Quinones to Saudi and get a bag for him.
I don't know if we get the bag. I think he goes for like.
Ask.
Is anybody going to actually purchase him? Is he going to be on loan?
It sounds like a loan deal.
Come on, MLS. Do something for me.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think
Let me call Austin FC. They need a guy like Luis Quiñones.
Austin FC needs a lot of players. FC Dallas needs a lot of players. too. You send him right up here to Texas.
What Alfred, what do you think? Any other players on the way out?
No, I think we pretty much have mentioned all of them. I think Quinones, whether if we can't sell him, I mean, he could definitely be a trading chip. Trying to see if we can get a player off of Pachuca, trying to see if we can get a player off of any other team, America maybe with what's this kid's name, Alvarez, Kevin Alvarez, which is just an option. I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but it's just some of the rumors that we've heard. So I still think that we can get something out of Quinones, even if it's not an outright sale. And then Samir, like you said, we got to find him a spot somewhere. He definitely has to go. And Tercero, Purata. I do agree that Reyes gets a pass. I agree with Lou with Gorriaran. If we can somehow find a player that is, if not better than him, at least at the same level, but that can contribute something different than Gorriaran, then I think we should try. We don't want the same thing to happen as happened with Luis Quinones, which is we let time pass. We had an opportunity to probably offload Quinones maybe a couple of years ago, maybe right after the Club World Cup, and we probably would have gotten a good amount of money for him. And if we wait too long, on Gorriaran, maybe even Nico Ibanez, we might not have those opportunities. Those opportunities might pass. So, but yeah, I agree. I mean, in terms of priorities, we first have to start with the back line. Once we know that we're getting a strong back line with two or three strong acquisitions, then we can look at these other potential positions that need reinforcement as well.
How do we feel about Fierro? That's a name that I thought of like, I mean, he hasn't really done anything to convince his worst thing.
Oh, same thing with the other, the one that's always just in the jersey
with Pisuto.
With Pisuto.
At least we got him.
David's
we
boy.
got him on the cheap. So like, and that's fine, and he can play in the youth team. He's young, so it's like whatever. But like Fierro's performance, his performance in Columbus against Columbus, I think, kind of killed off any sort of chance he had. Really, as much as it pains me to say, because that was his opportunity to do something in a high stakes game. Didn't work out. So, I would consider him as well, but I know we have to deal with the foreigner role and trying to balance out all of that. But that would be another name I'd consider, because I think we need some more midfield depth anyway too. Having just Gorriaran, Carioca, and Vigon as kind of your primary three, it's not really that great, to be honest with you. We need 4 quality midfielders. So who is that fourth one? Who knows?
See, to me, that position, goes to, you bring Carioca as the number 1 on the depth chart. You bring in someone, you slide Gorriaran into that Vigon role, and you slide Vigon only for like last minutes and for competition play and practice, and then for divide up the minutes in different tournaments. Because
but if you do that, if you keep Gorriaran, then you'd have to be looking at a Mexican to come in and fill that.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's hard.
For sure, hard. But like, I think that 11 millions that you pay for Nando, no one's gonna pay his sale, so you have to loan him out. And for someone that earns that salary, it's just harder. So I think that Nando is still someone that can contribute, but like I zoned in on what you said about something different, and I think that he can still be someone important on the squad, but I think that he needs ultimately competition in that middle spot, and Carioca as well. So where Carioca doesn't have to take a role of having to play 14, 15 games, it could be more strategically played out, especially with more tournaments. So I think that even though I understand the center back position is a need, and I've said the left back position, I think a center mid that can play either both ways, and then I brought up a winger because I think that losing Luis Quinones, and Alfred, you mentioned it earlier as well, in one of our group threads, was that someone that can compete on the opposite side, on the right wing side, versus what we got going on the left side. Because I think that, having that flexibility that you have with Ociel, Marcelo, and Diego to play on either side, but you can move them around and be a lot more interchangeable if you have someone that can play at that position at a strong level as well.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Carioca bit because I think we have to maximize how much left he has.
Right.
He's 34, right? And remind me his extension. It's like one more year technically.
December is
Okay.
when it's up.
Yeah, so he is the most important piece of our midfield, and we don't want him, like you said, Arnoldo, earlier, to like have him do so much work. Like we have to put him in a position to where he can thrive and show off his true qualities, and you have to bring in somebody else to complement that as best as possible, especially at his age. So I'm with you there.
100. I wanted to go into this part because Alfred mentioned his name, and I wanted, bounce it to you, Lou. Nico Ibanez, feel like a player who the whole fan base has mixed feelings about. Um, Obviously, it's not a position in need, and business wise, it doesn't really make sense. It kind of goes back to the whole my argument with the whole thing with Nando, is that not a lot of we can't offload that high salary players and high sale players that are worth on paper still, but not yet, nor not so much on production, or maybe not production is the right word, but just impact on with the amount of money that's behind their name. So Nico Ibanez, how do we feel about a possibility about him leaving?
I'll say this in general, and then I'll get to Nico specifically. In general, I don't feel like we have an attacking problem. We scored 34 goals this season. If you look at it, that's good enough for second place in the league. So better than America, better than Rayados, better than Chivas. All the teams that are in semis, we were a better scoring team than they were. So to me, a lot of times people have to find a scapegoat, and they'll pick, and it's been a different scapegoat after every week this season where we had tough stretches. Earlier on, it was Lainez, and we got on Marcelo Flores, and then there were idiots talking about Gignac, how he needs to go, which is completely stupid, but whatever. So they went after Gignac, and then Nico was the next guy up, and we kind of just rotated the whole thing, and trying to fix the offense is like trying to fix the roof when the foundation and the framing's all jacked up. You know, the roof is fine. Leave the roof, fix the foundation.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like, why are we, getting after our attackers when they're not the problem? That's not the problem. Nico specifically, though, I'll say this: what's the point of getting rid of Nico when he's your backup when you have an aging center forward? I mean, I never want Nico to play. I mean, as much as I defend him, I never want him to play because I always want Gignac to be there. However, I also have to be realistic, right? Gignac's getting older. He's going to get more injured as time goes along, right? So he's not going to be able to play the full 90. He's not going to be able to play every tournament. So we need a solid backup. I think he's a solid backup. Now, can we do better than Nico? Absolutely, we can. Is it the right time to do better? I don't think so. To me, once again, don't fix the roof. Let's fix the biggest problems we've had this season, which is the back line. Let's fix that. If after we fix this back line next season, we're still having issues, then yeah, let's start looking at the other positions. But to me, there's at least three key positions we need to be looking at before we even take a look at Nico. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a fair argument to say we can do a lot better than him. But do we want to spend that kind of cash in this window? And I think the answer should be no.
Okay. Lou defending Nico's honor here.
It's a weekly occurrence. Can I pose a question to the group?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
I've been thinking about this literally all day. Like my sub job today was absolutely mindless, so I spend a lot of time thinking about dumb things. But this is not a dumb thing. OCL, what's his best position, and how do we make sure he thrives? Because something I noticed on Sunday is that he was everywhere. Like they had him out on the left for various points, they had him out on the right. He was kind of more dropping deep. And I get that he has versatility, and it's always great to have somebody who's versatile. I mean, you have a good team when you have somebody in your attacking front that can do multiple things, that can play multiple spots. But what is his best spot? Because I feel like we haven't seen it yet, and I would like to see him have a more prominent role in the seasons to come because I think he's an important player. But where does he thrive the best is the real question.
To me, he thrives best behind the center forward because
Same.
he's able to find the spots. He's to me that's the one guy I would not want to like pin him down anywhere because I feel like he's got great instincts. He's got a magnet for the ball. He's got good intuition. He's able to move the spots. And I think when you let him play behind Gignac and Marcelo Flores and Lainez are working the wings, I think you have like really good partnerships. And he's able to kind of move around to where he's needed and then move into scoring positions. And so I think that that's the spot he needs to be in, but not so like pinned down. I think he's good. You can trust him. You can trust his instincts to be able to move to the right spots throughout the game.
Yeah, you don't want him like going at defenders on the wing the entire time. You want him to like tuck in. You want him to be the guy up front when Gignac steps out and moves behind. So I'm with you. I think that I don't think he has a position yet on this squad, and it's kind of like Lou said, the attacking is not necessarily the problem, and so finding his role will be more as he stays more healthy and he actually takes on you know every game as if it was his last, because he still hasn't solidified what type of player he's going to be on this team, because he's been either inconsistent because of the injuries, or he had good games or in some okay games, and but he definitely didn't have a time where you were saying, hey, he has to start, and be the starter. And so I think he still has to develop that and find his role with the squad.
Okay, fair. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting because I like him a lot, and I think he's so
Same.
important. But how do we best utilize him? Because I really want him to thrive. This is such like a good place for him to thrive, and I think he has potential to even go beyond Tigres and be a prominent player somewhere else. So how can we, best set him up for that?
I think
Is
to answer your question, Dennis, I think the answer lies in that mid holding role of Gorriaran.
okay.
Um, we're being nitpicky with these guys' performance. Like Lou said, I mean, we scored 34 goals or whatever, and they were distributed among most of them. I mean, everybody scored. Linus scored, Marcelo scored, Ociel scored, Guignac scored, Ibanez
Cordova.
scored, Bruneta scored, Cordova scored. We're being nitpicky. I mean,
Diego Reyes scored.
we're
Stop,
talking
dude.
about attackers, right? I mean, like there is no problem with our attack. I mean, we have a lot of talent. We are stacked. We are loaded up front. But I think part of the problem is that holding mid, whether it is Carioca with Vigon, Carioca with Gorreran, Gorreran with Vigon, just they lack a lot of effort, in which we have to have these other players, offensive players, drop back out of their position. We ask them to do things that we shouldn't be requiring of them, and then you have these questions as that you're bringing up, that how do we best utilize. I think we can utilize them in any way. That's the advantage of these talented guys, that they're so versatile. We can put them anywhere. But the answer is, how do we make them more productive? Is not having them drop back and do things that the holding mid should be doing. So yeah, if anything, I mean, if at any moment the front office is having any doubts as to making changes or bringing in players for the offense, I think it is not the right decision. They should be looking, yes, priority the back line, but then that mid position
Yeah.
is where we need to find something different. Gorriaran, great player, been with us for a year and a half, and he's definitely done some good things. He has a lot of heart. I'm not gonna say anything about that. I think he has a lot of heart. He gave us some good games, but I just don't think that he has brought enough to that position that we need.
Yeah, the work rate of those players is just two-way too much. It has to be majority of the times the other way as well.
Even Guignac in this Clásico, I mean, 83rd minute, and he was, back in the first quarter of the field, grabbing a ball and taking it forward. Why does Guignac have to be that far back when it
Yeah.
should be, the midfielders, the ones that are building up the play?
Yeah, they all three of those guys have more offensive qualities than defensive qualities. And as much as we talk about, Pizarro and Carioca not exactly being the best fit themselves, Carioca or Pizarro was a dog defensively, and is still a dog defensively, and that's how that was able to be a success, even though there's a weird clunkiness there because he's more of a true number 6 than all those other three. They're more like 8s in some ways. So
If the front office honors our wishes to plug these defensive holes that we have, I think Siboldi's going to look a lot better too. We've criticized
yeah,
him a lot, but I think the team's going to look better, and then everybody's going to be saying, "Wow, look, Siboldi, masterclass and this and that." But it's going to be a lot to do with what Alfred was saying, just fixing a lot of defensive woes.
And that's why it was very much easier for me to take this loss than like other eliminations because it was coming. I think that, Alfred mentioned it a few weeks back, and like we didn't imagine the team to be here with all the injuries that happened, the moments that happened, even off the field with the whole thing with Nahuel. Like that was unexpected and like, unpredictable that he would do that. It was hilarious because all the stuff that he has taken as he has done the tours of winning championships across the league, and all the hatred that he got by being the Tigres goalkeeper and all the success we had. So that off the field, and then throw on top, some, bad form to start. So, the management, the substitutions, we didn't expect to be here, and yet we still found a way to compete, for some part of the 180 minutes. Could have been better. Absolutely. Could have been preventable. Yes, absolutely. But I think that that's what made it easy for me to know that it was time to address the holes and the needs that we've been um, masking with a lot of individual performances from all the players that we have. Because you're right, Alfred, we are stacked offensively. All those kids have proven to be some of the better players in the league and for the national team now as they're continuing to rise. But we still require more because uh, we saw the window get somewhat extended with the youngsters arriving, and Siboldi arrival, and change them, not changing the mentality, but still motivating and pushing the older guys and believing in it, giving them the confidence to be someone important on the team, but still not missing the point that had to be addressed. So I think that that's what made it easier for me to understand this loss, because it wasn't because Rayados was a better team. It was because there were some things that weren't favorable for our squad, whether it was through suspensions, injuries, and even aging of some of the players. So I think that it makes everything, transition easier into this next stage, because we'll be back and we have a lot of soccer to play, and we've been playing. It's not, Dennis, back to the Diego Coca time. It's back to 2015, and that these players have been playing at a high level, uh, the most games out of anybody, because we've won the most titles out of anybody in that span. And
You know what this felt like? This felt like 2014 final loss versus America.
Mhm,
You know,
exactly.
I mean, it's a rebuild. And then after that, came the Guignacs, came the Nahuels, came the Jurgen Dams, But I mean, in the end, it's part of that. I mean, now instead of fixing the offense, we gotta fix the defense. But I mean, it felt that way. I mean, it was coming. We needed it to happen. And I mean, if it happened now, it happened now. Too bad that it happened against Rayados, but it is what it is, and we just got to make the best of it.
But that's what also adds to that competitive aspect, right? Like I think that when I got interviewed by Rubik on the Solo Tigres podcast, like that's the one of the things that I told him about the competition between us and Rayados had faded. Like Alfred, like you were so confident last week that we were going to win. I was confident, like we were all confident because we didn't really see this team like be a challenge to our squad. And even though they have a good team, but I've said it, like the coaching, I don't think it's quite there. Because it wasn't like Tano kicked his butt on a tactical approach against Iwaldi. It was, the circumstances of our squad, as well as they took opportunity and had some luck on the goal that they scored, the Maxi Mesa and the Jordi Cortizo. Jordi Cortizo did not shoot that ball in. He put his leg up and the ball hit him. Let's be real. And so I'm just like, okay, it happened, but we're gonna get through it. And just like you mentioned, that perfect example of that America loss, we rebuild, and but now that extra window that we got, and the championship, and Monterrey, making signings, and America having a great team and a great style of soccer. Pachuca being so young, like we needed that, like, let's go, time to get to the top again, because we've held on for so long that it needed to happen. So, anything as far as rumors that you guys want to address that could be arriving? I feel like it's too early to even consider the possibilities of anybody. One thing that was interesting, and I sent it to you guys right before we started about rumors, is that the guys from TV Azteca were the ones that first started the whole mixing of who could come into Tigres. So that to me was really interesting, as they have the possibility of being on their TV network. But any arrivals that
Edgar, drop it on us, Edgar. Double L Nation.
Fabrizio.
Well, I heard Double L Nation is fake news.
Yeah, that guy said
That's what
something
Edgar
about
said, but it's not
David
true.
De Gea coming, and then that never happened. What a bummer. No, but the two rumors that are currently surfacing all over social media and a couple of the Mexican media are EGC and Rafael Varane from Manchester United. As far as if these are credible, probably not. I mean, Varane is a very high-profile defender who has offers from Serie A, and I think MLS is the other one.
And Saudi, too.
Saudi as well. Idrisi, I mean, he's been at Pachuca for 6 months. We probably could pay 10 to 20 million for him, but
we saw 8. I saw 8 million. That's the number they'd thrown around. That would be a signing just to take a better player from another team. That I don't. Alfred, you mentioned earlier today too in the group there that we've talked about not being one of our priorities or needs. It feels like it would just be to weaken the competition. But the one that I'm curious about is Rafael Varane, European soccer correspondent. Dennis?
You got a question with that or what?
Yeah, do we think he's coming or not?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, nobody knows, man. It would be awesome because
do we want him?
I think yes. I think yes, because he's a World Cup winner. He's a Champions League winner. He's from Europe. I think one of these three center backs that we get needs to be a guy from Europe.
He knows the double L?
Yes. He's friends with Gignac, countryman. Here's what I'll say about center backs. You get one from Europe, you get one from South America, like a dog from South America, like somebody who's playing in Libertadores right now. That would be really, really great. But Varane, man, the thing that's kind of plagued him throughout his time post Real Madrid is that he got to United and he just got hurt all the time. And I think part of that is just the pace of the league is just too fast. And half of United got hit with injuries this year, so he wasn't the only one. But I don't know. The bad vibes there probably also didn't help. That's probably why he's leaving after only 3 years. He could have stayed longer, but yeah, I mean, he'd be great. He would be a great addition. He's not old. He's only 31, So it's not like he's an ancient. It's not like he's Sergio Ramos, who's about to get signed by San Diego, which is incredible to me. He's not 38. He's 31 years old. Like, he's still very much like able to play capable football. Like, this guy was in the World Cup final like a year and a half ago and played pretty well, if I remember, at that World Cup final. So I don't know. Like, I think you go for it if you can, but I just don't know how realistic that is, considering his market value is still pretty decently high. Like, according to Transfer Market, he's worth 25 million euros, and that's a pretty high, value for a guy who is on sort of the back end of his career. Now we're getting him on a free in this scenario, which is great, but I don't know how realistic it is. It'd be awesome, but who knows?
I think you just give him a San Juan or a Chicharrón del Ramos franchise, and pay him out.
Honestly,
Well, I
who'd be
think
really
Iñak is going to play a role. He's probably
Yeah.
done a couple of calls already.
well,
That'd
and
be
here's
great.
the other thing too. Like, here's some other European guys that'd be great. His former teammate at Real Madrid, Nacho. I mean, that guy has been incredible for Real Madrid this season. Literally, like, anchoring their defense in the midst of Militao's injury and David Alba's injury. They're having to play Tchouaméni as a center back. Like, Nacho's been incredible. I know he's been linked to MLS, but like, let's see what we can do to get him, because again, that would be another guy on a free. And also, speaking of Madrid, can we get Toni Kroos and Luka Modric too in a package deal? Because they're also on free transfers this summer. That's no way that happens. And Savage from Atletico Madrid, he apparently might be leaving early. So those are 3 European guys that you could try and be ambitious for. I would like to see us be ambitious with one of these center back moves.
Has
'Cause
Nacho
we need
always
it.
been at Madrid?
Yes, I think so.
Oh man, I was hoping he was like at Betis for a little while. Sergio Canales also now has an influence, because that's what we need. We need a top talent, like you said, a European talent. And Varane, I don't know you guys' opinion, because I heard obviously Dennis, but one thing that stuck out was getting a center back from Copa Libertadores to complement him, and have Pizarro, transition into a backup role and mix in with the starting role if need be. Lou, any thoughts on the rumor of Varane that you want to add?
I mean, if it happens, I'd love to see it. Somebody did sour me. I don't know. I think it might have been Alfred. Somebody said he looked like Diego Reyes, man, and it really did sour me
Doppelganger,
out
man, I'm telling
really
you.
bad, bro. Like, now I can't unsee it. Like, I look at him and I'm like, there's some Diego Reyes in him, and it's really messing me up, man. My only concern with him being serious is the injury aspect. We'll see if he can stay healthy. But we said the same thing about Pisuto, and then look at what Pisuto's done. He's had to play with the under 23. So hopefully that's not the case with him if he comes and he stays healthy.
I'm starting to connect the dots. It actually makes sense. It would make sense for it to be Varane. Since he's going into free market this summer. I mean, Lou had mentioned it earlier. I think we knew, or the front office knew since last season, that we needed to get guys in the back line, and we didn't. They were probably waiting for this European window in the summer.
And you could get him now because he's not a French international anymore. Like, he retired from the national team after the World Cup. So he's not going to be playing at the Euros this summer. So if you go out and get him early, you get him on the training ground, he's available for League's Cup more likely than not.
And
So
2.5 hours away from Cancun.
exactly. No complaints there.
Yeah, no.
And the piano teachers are good looking, from what I hear.
You did not go there.
Ay.
Yeah, so let's bring Rafael Varane all on board to the Rafael Varane train.
Why not? Worth a shot.
Can we talk about the Arthur rumor that also started floating around today? Because please no, like,
Hard
anything.
pass.
Yeah, hard pass. That guy's injured all the time.
Where'd you see that?
It was in the group thread. Somebody sent it in the group thread, but I can't remember who it was.
It was probably
our other inside, David Molina, is probably trying to compete with Double L Nation over there.
Shout out to
Double
David,
Nation.
man. David
Did
David brings the vibes with Tigres.
Facts.
Um, Anything else, fellas, before we move on to Las Amazonas as they advanced yesterday?
Uh,
Marco Rios is also leaving his team.
Dude, I want him to come play in our league so bad, but you know he's gonna go play in St. Louis. You know him and Berkey are gonna be teammates again.
Yeah.
MLS for sure.
Yeah,
That would be horrible, but it would have been cool to see.
yeah. Tough scene. Hopefully we can get a matchup with LAFC in the summer during Leagues Cup so we can get a Gignac versus Giroud matchup because that would be really fun. I would enjoy that a lot. And I know Edgar would enjoy that a lot too.
I'd cry a lot actually, but that's
I-
the signing we were supposed to get. That's the signing that Tigres was supposed to get. We were supposed to slightly put a blanket over Nico Ibanez and bring in Giroud.
Two 38-year-old Frenchmen as our starting forward. Love it.
If you want
Great
to back if you want a backup striker, I'm kind of serious, kind of not, because he got in trouble recently. But y'all remember Gabigol from Flamengo?
Monterrey's been trying to sign him since like 2016.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he could come join the better side of Monterrey and come play. He's on a free too, because I think he got so.
Yeah.
Well, we've been mentioning, we're throwing European names around, but if we look back at our last few years, we actually got people from Europe, but they weren't Europeans, and they were good additions. And at Valencia, and with
Vargas.
Vargas, right? So, like, I think we could also look at potential South Americans that are out in Europe that might be looking to come back.
There's one player that I've kind of kept up with. Played with the Rayados Mexican that just got here.
Arteaga.
Arteaga, yeah, he played with Arteaga in Greece, I believe. Carlos Cuesta, defender. Honestly, could be better than Samir. Colombian, plays pretty good. Get him on the cheap.
But I'm better than Samir now, Edgar. So you haven't said nothing.
Lou, we should get our old Liverpool boy Joel Matip once he recovers from his ACL injury.
Yes,
The
sir.
giraffe.
Yes, sir.
Oh man.
I think we need a whole nother hour pod just to talk about potential transfers.
Yeah, I like your point that you made, Alfred, about South Americans in Europe. That's a good point. And Carlos Cuesta, Edgar, yeah, good points, because that, we get so focused on the big signing of what, high impact of name and obviously play, but there's a lot of players out there from South America that could potentially be a great addition as well. Amazonas, Lou. I know we advanced, but you're not very happy.
This man's blood pressure was skyrocketed.
What do we feel about the Mila Martina saga yesterday with her way of playing against Juarez?
I have no earthly idea what she's doing. We played 60 minutes without a right winger and just improvised in a lot of spots. We've got Jenny Hermoso playing like a double pivot next to Mercado and Alexia Delgado, so you're wasting a holding mid. What if you're gonna drop Jenny Hermoso that deep? Why are you playing with two holding mids? Why are you playing with Alexia Delgado and Mercado? One of them is just wasted. And then Mayor is in a deep slump right now, unfortunately, and you're not giving you could easily play Mari Carmen Reyes in Mayor's spot. There's just this team, the shape is off. Players are not in the right spots, so our passing lanes are not there. Our passing is awful. So I'm not sure what they're doing in training, but just our movement in general, the space between lines is horrendous. So we're having to play the long ball, which this team is not designed to play long ball. We're not designed to play el pelotazo, this isn't Turco Mohamed squad. So, it's just really weird how this team has gone south, and there's really no clear idea of how to attack. I knew Bravos was gonna make us struggle because they have so much speed on that squad, and they like to press, and so I knew we'd have some difficulties, but I did not think we would struggle this much. Now, once again, it all goes back to what I was saying earlier. This team doesn't allow a lot of goal scoring, so in the end, we're always gonna have a shot because we've only given up 10 goals the entire season. So we played 19 games, giving up 10 goals. So I mean that's still great, and that's the one positive. But at some point we're gonna run into some troubles, and teams will score. It could be potentially America coming up. So we need to figure it out quickly, and we need to play the best 11. As much as good as Mayor has been, and as good as she was earlier in the season, she's faded towards the end. So at some point we need to find somebody that can put it in the back of the net, and I think that person is Reyes. And so put Reyes where she needs to be, playing center forward, and then move Jenny up. Don't play Jenny as a double pivot. You're wasting her completely. You have players that can do what Jenny did for 180 minutes against Bravas, which Nancy Antonio could have easily done it. So somebody needs to sit down with Mila and say, hey, look, we got to correct this stuff. You're wasting players. We literally wasted 3 positions. So I mean, at some point that needs to be corrected.
We feeling lay the X with Allison this next round.
It
I
could
hope
be a,
so.
a double they lay the legs because they got Katy Killer over there too.
True.
Who?
True.
Cool.
I don't know who it is. You play for my team.
I just feel like she's struggling with like las jerarquías too. Like Mercado, again, great player, great comments about what she has done for the team, but it's like having both players play at the same level on the field. It becomes redundant in what you're going to do as you push forward. You're going to move the ball. So I think that her and even at times Mayor, like you mentioned, we got to let go of that and utilize the squad better. I think that we're deep and we're not utilizing. I know, Alfred, you made a comment about Jocelyn Montoya not getting regular minutes yesterday. So, what else do you think that is going on with the squad, especially yesterday with how Mila Martinez handled?
Yeah, well, I mentioned about Jocelyn Montoya a few weeks ago. Asking why she wasn't getting minutes, and I think yesterday's performance, her performance at least, was not. Or I was disappointed. I don't feel that. Or at least it opened my eyes as to why she wasn't getting minutes. I was actually asking about Alison Gonzalez. I think she's a great player. Was mentioning Mari Carmen Reyes as an option for taking Mayor's place, but I would put Alison Gonzalez in. Um, in the end, like you said, I mean, we have a lot of depth, and we just got to make sure that we're putting them in the right positions. And the good thing about it is that we have Greta back. I think that's the upside going into this America game. If we can hold them off, because we know that they're going to be attacking, we know that they're going to have their chances or opportunities. But if we can hold them off, if the Muralla can come out strong with these one or two opportunities that we get, we can just outscore them. That's really all we need to do versus America. Outscore them, and we can make it through.
Edgar, what do you think about the boost that Mila Martinez received?
I mean, I am also very frustrated with how they played this series, and it felt like a repeat of that phase that we were going through where Mila Martinez's team just had no direction. But it's also wild to me that the coach who got you a championship in her first season and who secured the first place in the league is getting booed. But also, this is the same coach who gave you like 2 not great, honestly, awful games. But I know the standards for the Amazonas are a lot higher just because we are the best team in North America, and our numbers say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's double-edged sword for sure. Uh, Dennis, what do we think about the matchup? And any who you thought was the best player yesterday? And I know who you're gonna say because you've been, giving her credit the last few weeks.
Barbie Malibu. Just so again, I'm telling you guys, like she is the difference maker. She is the engine. Like she's the main thing in the engine. Um, saving our butts when we need to. Um, so shout out to Mari Carmen. I'm looking forward to this matchup. I think we have a good shot, obviously. I mean, of course we always have a good shot. But we match up against them well. I remember the regular season matchup against them. I liked how we matched up against them better than against some other teams. And so I don't think we'll have hopefully we won't have as many problems just because I feel like Mila can't afford to do what she did this round again. Like and I think she knows that. I hope she knows that.
She was
Uh,
crying
yeah.
yesterday.
I mean she has to understand that like now it's now or never. You want to try to win back to back. And you're now facing good teams the rest of the way. Like you're not facing Bravas anymore. Like you're playing the top 4 teams left. So let's figure it out. Let's get through this round. Hopefully make another final. Like Lou said, let's get the best 11 on the field. Like whatever that looks like, let's make it happen. But Greta being back makes me feel a lot better too. Just because you can just tell it's miles different to when Plummer's back there when anybody else is back there next to Ferral. So
What was
Differing
the
opinion here, though. I'm gonna go with La Chiqui, man. Natalia Villarreal is the player of
she
the
was
match.
great. She was
Saved
great too.
saved the goal, and she was
Yeah,
just everywhere last night. She went box to box the entire night,
She's the
and
great
femenil
shout.
Latino.
yeah,
yeah
Great
she is.
shout.
She really is. She's the soldada over there. She's killing it. And one thing I'll say in regards to Mila, I think the reason she was kind of crying is because it was sort of like a stress relief kind of thing where it's like adrenaline dump where after they scored it was kind of pressure relief there. But this team is not built for back to back. This team is going for the three-peat, and I think the front office pretty much told her, "Hey, we don't just want back to back. We've done that. We want the
first
three-peat."
repeat? Yeah,
And so I think the expectations are way higher than just getting this championship. We want this one, the one in the summer, and then the one in Clausura. So, this team is that's what the front office is thinking, and that's what the fans demand, and that's why even though they scored 102 goals in her 2 seasons and had 88 points, that's still not enough because this team has to look good, has to play well, and has to win the championship. So the the expectations are way higher, and I think she knows that.
yeah, and they have to play better. Most importantly, I think that has to be a priority. As make sure that the adjustments are made to put these players in a better position to succeed. Because there's that, like you said, the board and the front office, constructed this team to be, as Edgar said, it, the best team in North America.
From a fan perspective, I'll say this: they play on a Monday night when traffic is the worst in Monterrey. I mean, trying to get to that stadium on a Monday night is hell, man. It's tough. And then fans show up for you and you don't put on a show. Ultimately you got to put on a show for the fans. And that's why they buy the season tickets and that's why they show up. And if we want our attendance numbers to continue to go up, we need to deliver when it counts. And I think that's another factor that the front office is probably going to drive home to Mila.
Yeah, the attendance has dropped significantly in like the last, what, 3 6 months.
Well, when
Yep.
they change when they play the games, like the week of, it's like annoying. Like there was that one week earlier in the season, the Mazatlan game, I'm pretty sure, where it got randomly rescheduled to like be 3 days earlier. Like, what are we doing? Like, that just makes everybody's life hard. So
I
Yeah,
wish our home games were before the games, before our men's games. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, if they can structure the calendar differently, that would be awesome. just like back in the day when they did the filiales and the
Yeah.
U20s
Yeah.
before the men's games. They just you showed up earlier so that you were there longer. The vibes, just right in the passion of just having entertained by soccer for
And
4 hours.
think about it, the fans would be in a super great mood going into the men's game too. So they'd be all fired up.
Facts.
Yeah, especially because they would probably most likely win. Quick predictions about how we feeling about America. I'm thinking we advance. I think it's going to be a tough matchup to beat them twice. I think that you go over there, you play a smart game, defend well. Like we've talked about the defense being important, and try to get your goal or two to bring back a positive result, but close them out at home ultimately, and that goes with like playing well. So I think I'm going, 1-0 victory over there, and then winning in a convincing way, 2-1 at home.
I'm going 0-0 at the Azteca and then 1-0 at home. I
Oof.
think we're gonna keep it low scoring and squeak out a win there.
Man, stress with the quarterfinals, and then you're already putting on stress on us with 1-0 victory in the second leg. God, Lou, why you do this to me? Edgar, how we feeling? Predictions?
So I think it'll be again tough game, but tougher opponent. So 2-1 on the road, 1-0 at home.
Alfred?
It's gonna be tough. I think we tie at El Azteca, and then hopefully get a win at home, 2-0.
Dennis?
Yeah, 3-1 aggregate score, 1-1 there, 2-0 at home. I feel like we always score at Azteca, so I don't expect
3-0 last season.
Yeah, I don't expect that to change. So
Yeah, got to step up though. The players and the coaching staff has to step up, and I think that's just going to push us through. We have the talent, we have the experience, we have the championships, we have the fan base. Just got to put it together on the field.
what's the other semifinal?
Rayadas.
Pachuca.
Okay.
I think Pachuca takes that series.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
I like that better than a
Charlene Corral goal this weekend was, oh my god.
Any last comments on Las Amazonas in the Liguilla? Anything we missed? Okay, Amazonitas, Edgar, tell us about this Amazonitas versus Wrexham game.
Yeah, so earlier it was announced that Las Amazonitas are going to face off in California against Wrexham's women's team. So now not only is our first division women's team getting the reflectors on them, our younger squad as well is now being invited for international friendlies. And that's just really great news that they as well are on other people's radar.
Branding, man. Branding. Different element of branding. I love it. Wrexham has a big following because of obviously who owns them and their story. And, the show, or is it not show? Is it a documentary? Or is it a show? It's a show, right?
Yeah, it is.
Exactly. So just adding different ways to continue to get the brand out there. Amazonas, man, always leading the front and, helps us out on the men's side as well. So shout out for setting that up and getting that going. It's in LA, right?
Yeah, it's going to be, I think all the friendlies for Wrexham are going to be on the West Coast.
Cool. That would have been great to go to, but we just have so much on the calendar this summer.
Yeah.
We're all going to be spending a week and a half in Houston.
Yeah, buddy.
Femenil plays a week later against Houston Dash
Mhm.
in Houston, so it's like really packed out.
Well, and like probably the week of Amazonitas is when they play that first game at home in the Summer Cup, because it's the home game and then they go to Houston and then they go to Kansas City.
Yeah, we play Pachuca at home.
Yeah, exactly. So, woo, busy.
A lot of soccer
I
coming
love
up for Amazonas.
A lot of money not in our bank accounts anymore.
That's That's what they get you, bro. You're committed for life. You got to pay your
Exactly.
dues. Uh, from the vault moments to finish off this episode, this week in 2019, Tigres eliminated Rayados and went on to win the Clausura 2019 versus Club León. Good times because that season also we struggled, but our defense held it down. Shout out Nahuel, who did not have in that Clásico. But um, any other from the vault moments? I know we got the Lucas interview, Alfred, that you mentioned. What came out of that interview? I haven't gotten to watch like any chance to watch it yet.
Well, it was a great interview. I mean, obviously they talked about it was prior to the Clásico, it was on Saturday night, I think. So, they talked a lot about, what Lucas Loa saw from the game. He's obviously down in Argentina, but he's still able to, catch the games and, follows along. But they also then, they delved back into, some of the history of Lucas Lobos with Tigres. They talked about, his favorite like clásicos, his favorite goals, and some of his best moments. So it was very reminiscent to watch it. And then it got a little bit personal when they started talking about his personal struggles with his kid, and what drove him out of Tigres, and then the whole controversy that happened once he was at the Luca, and then he got interviewed with a little bit of malicious intent, trying to get him to speak bad about Tigres or something,
The
and
tacos. I missed
yeah,
the
about the
tacos
taco thing.
comment.
That so in his words, he obviously, saying, it was misconstrued, or it was part of a greater conversation, greater context, and it was just kind of pulled out as oh, this is the only thing that he misses, from Monterrey. But no, but it was a really good interview. If you guys have a chance to go back into Bello's YouTube account and find it, it's a good watch.
What I thought was interesting about that, Alfred, now that you brought it up, is how things really haven't changed with the media in
Oh yeah.
Monterrey and Mexico in general. How dirty they can play, and just taking that out of context and then using everything they had at their disposal to try to make this guy look bad.
Yeah.
I knew it back then, but I think a lot of our fans kind of bit the hook on that one,
Oh yeah.
and I thought it was great that Bello gave him a chance to kind of clear the air on that and kind of clear things up.
Yeah.
Because I've always thought he's a player that did so much for a club, and he deserved better than what happened. So I agree, it was a great interview. It's worth a watch.
Yeah, top five player in our history for sure. And I feel like we should he should be more involved with the club.
Which
Just
is
like
what Bello said. At some point we need to see him. He's doing youth development at Talleres, I believe, or
Yeah.
is it Gimnasia? One of those.
Gimnasia La Plata.
And so it would be great to see him kind of do youth development with us at some point. That would be great.
or be a scout, bro. Just be a
Hey, there
like
you go.
put him on the payroll and do work for we got to mend that relationship. I mean, I haven't, like I said, I haven't watched it, but I remember when it came about and his exit, and that guy carried us into success and laid the seeds along with some other players into what Tigres is now. And you know, not to be a face that the club is familiar with as far as the recent success, and have a role, you know, at least you can pay him a scouting role to be in Argentina, even if he doesn't do very much. You pay him a few bucks, and he still has that relationship and that attachment to the squad to help out on the sporting side.
Hey, it might be a link for the club, to try to get a partnership with, Gimnasia, kind of like with the partnerships that they used to have with this Colombian team, where Quiñones came from.
Yeah.
La,
So
La Paz FC, or what was it?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I'll say
Um,
this on that 2019 run, that 2019 the beating Rayados, which was the goal that Pizarro scored where he got his head busted open, that led to the championship, which led to the Club World Cup. So that was it was an interesting offseason. It was an interesting postseason, I should say, because it led to so many things that became positive in our club.
Absolutely. I think one last thing that I wanted to add to the from the vault moment that I just remembered. Jesus Molina retired today. He had a run with our club and started here. Um, how do we feel about his impact with the club?
Well, he played in a very dark moment of the club, right? I mean, there was very little positive going on at that time. I think what we might have won one Interliga under him, with him, but other than that, he felt like a mercenary a little bit.
Oh yeah.
He just played. He played for so many clubs. I mean, he played for Rayados, America, Chivas. I mean, he's been everywhere, you know. So it's
Pumas.
kind of, he like my dad would say, he never warmed up the needle. You know, he never warmed up the nest anywhere. I don't think. I mean, he's not disliked by the fan base, but he never really made any deep connections with any of the fans anywhere, really. I don't think.
He's never been back. Not that I know.
Yeah.
Do y'all remember who made him debut?
Do I want to remember?
Mr. Carnes Asadas himself.
Tolo.
Diego.
I knew it. I told you it was a dark time, bro.
Yeah.
I tried to block that out of my memory.
Number 43 is when he made his debut, and then eventually he scored a lot of headers for us. He was always good in the air, so that was something I came across on my timeline today.
Was that the same preseason where Lucas Lobos and somebody else got into a fist fight in practice? We gotta bring that up in a vault moment later on. I gotta research it though.
Yeah. Okay. Dennis, any from the vault moment before we go?
Well, I was going to say a year ago today, we were stressed out for about 70 minutes of the match second leg against Toluca. Because remember, they came back. They scored the first 3 goals of that game. But then Mr. Liguilla of last year, Sebastian, came in and saved our butts. So that was May 14th of 2023. And so exactly a year later.
Man, how much did we miss that guy this season?
Oh,
this postseason,
how much
man?
did we miss him on Sunday? Oh, my gosh. It would have changed everything.
Actually, he was the one that last year, Cortizo had a shot in the Clásico that if they would have scored, they would have gone through, and it was Cordova that he slid and he defensively helped us. I mean, he was all over the place. He scored and he was defense. I mean, oh man, can't wait until we get him back but not just back, but in shape and hopefully get a starting lineup position again.
Yeah, and sort of like that question that posed Dennis when we first started is, we talk about finding the role for Ociel. I think that's another guy that also needs to find his role. But
can you guys guess that center back pairing from that game a year ago?
Diego Reyes.
Reyes and
Samir?
No, Samir was hurt.
Diego Reyes and Angulo.
Well, Angulo played left back.
Diego Reyes and Pizarro then.
No, it was Lichnowsky.
What? Oh man.
Totally cleared that guy out of my head too.
And Fulgencio started. Guido was in midfield because I guess Rafa, I don't know why he didn't start, and Vigon was also in midfield. I don't remember why that was the case, but hey, it worked out.
Jesus. From the vault moment, took it today.
That was actually my original from the vault moment, but I didn't want to remember. So I dug a little bit deeper.
Sweet. Well, fellas, it was a great pod. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. 117 people. We got
a lot
watching.
of people.
Nice.
Thank you guys for watching and giving these outlandish takes that we have about our squad and everything that surrounds it. So thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate the support. Fellas, thank you guys for taking the time out of y'all's day to come on and talk some Tigres. Great pod, and lots of changes should be coming for the squad, and hopefully soon so we can start the planning of the next conquest of championships.
Stay tuned for all the rumors. Follow Double L Nation.
And Mr. David Molina. And David Molina, dude. He's gonna
Yeah, shout out to David for
now that it's off season. Are we gonna do some of our fun ideas that we talked about?
Yes, sir. We'll still record some pods and still keep up with the squad, and we'll touch up on some of the topics that we've been definitely prolonging now for a while. So stay tuned for that. And again, thank you, fellas. Give us a follow if you don't follow us, and check us out and everything we talk about Tigres. Till next time, fellas.
Take care.
Peace.
Ciao for now.
Sweet.